make your day richer than it was before. Got some good times knocking upon your front door. It's the Richard Wilmore Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Richard Wilmore.
Our first live interview. I'm so excited. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
Before we start, and we had already talked about this before, so I'll pretend that I don't know the answer to this, but I wanted to say that I went to the opening night of Dreamgirls at the Woodlawn Theater on Friday,
Oh, okay.
and it was amazing. There's some really good talent coming out of that show. So it just opened. I think it runs through September 12th or something. So go get your tickets to that. It was sold out. It's selling out. So my question for you was, now that I know the answer though, outside of comedy, do you do any artistic things? Do you go to theater? Do you go to? Do you do art?
I do art.
Yeah.
I do art. I do a lot of resin work, with coasters and ashtrays mostly. I don't do resin, coasters and ashtrays for resin, and then I do I have perler beads, which if you don't know what those are, they're normally you've just never been to Comic-Con. You're all over the place.
Nope.
They're just beads you could make patterns with, right? People use them to make keychains or portraits or characters. I do portraits with them, huge framed posters out of perler beads.
How long does that take to make a huge poster out of perler beads? These are 7 words I've never said before in my entire life.
One portrait piece takes, I want to say about 12 hours. About 12 hours to do. Yeah, so that's why I think when I try to sell them, but whenever I try to sell them outside of the nerdy Comic-Con community that knows that perler beads are a lot to work with, nobody gets that. So I'll try to sell a portrait and they're like, how much is this? And because it takes 12 hours, I want, a fair price.
Right.
So I'll ask what I think is a fair price for 12 hours of work, and they're like, that's too expensive. No. And walk away. So I'm like, okay.
Do you sell them online, or can people somehow see them for the nerds who are out there who are watching this?
Yeah, I think I post them on my Instagram page,
Okay.
Jen Marroquin Comedy. I also have another Instagram page where I used to post just that. I haven't posted in a while though. I don't even think I've logged into that Instagram in a while. Anyway,
So don't go to that one,
but there you can see the artwork there.
That's true.
That one's perfect pixel. No, it's pixel perfect. It's pixel perfect.
we'll look it up. We'll look it up after this live event, and we'll put it in the comments.
No, I want to say it's definitely pixel perfect.
You want to say, but you're not sure?
I'm about 80% sure it's
Great.
pixel perfect.
Just don't DM her on that one because she won't answer that one, right? Go to your other one.
Yeah, Jen Marroquin Comedy. That's
Okay,
the
good.
one.
How long have you been doing that?
For a while. How long have I been doing that? I want to say longer than I've been doing comedy for sure. It used to be, I used to have an Etsy page for it. And so I was an amateur when I first started doing Etsy. So I did a portrait piece, someone ordered it, right? And I was like, oh, I could put it in a glass frame, which seems so smart. I was like, I'm gonna charge a bunch because it's all glass frame, right? And it got delivered all broken and destroyed and shit. So I had to redo it, and it didn't even make a profit. So I was like, maybe I won't even put these on Etsy. And now I just use the canvases, painting canvases, and I just stick them on canvases, and it works a lot better. They ship a lot better and safer and everything. But yeah, ones that I do.
What made you how did you...
Decline. Cool.
Okay, we're still live.
Yay.
I think.
Exciting.
Alright, go.
I forgot the question.
How does one get into that?
Oh, I got into it very vaguely, I think. So again, it's a big Comic-Con thing. Like if you go to any comic book convention or like superhero convention or anything like that, there's normally a booth that sells art made out of perler beads because a lot of people in the comic book world use perler beads. So I think I went to a booth and I saw them, and I used to play with them as kids. I used to play with perler beads as kids because it used to be sold as a children's toy. But perler bead, I think the company has now realized that adults are using them to make art. So
Is there not a choking hazard for children?
Well, not like children like 10 and 12,
Oh, okay.
like preteens, I guess you would say. So I saw them at a Comic-Con one time. I saw like keychains made out of perler beads being sold at a Comic-Con, and they were being sold for like more than I wanted to pay for, I guess. So I was like, I used to do this as a child. I can make that, right? So like I started buying them again, and like when I saw the artist, I was like, oh, I wanted to do this and this, and I started doing them, and then I started doing like bigger portrait pieces because the one the artist was selling were like keychain size. So I was like, you could probably do whole portraits out of these, and I started doing that.
And make millions.
Yeah, but no one buys them.
So you were showing me photos. It's really, really beautiful stuff.
Thank you.
I don't know still what a perler bead is, but I will be looking it up. But
I should have brought a handful with me and been like, here you go.
We could have done a craft segment. I know, we could have made some on live.
It's a whole thing. It takes
12 hours.
tape and iron beads.
Well, we
Yeah,
gotta start at 6 a.m. instead of 6 p.m.
Exactly, yeah.
I am taking the day off.
And it takes like 12 physical hours, but again, I have a day job and I do comedy. So like if someone commissioned me to do a portrait piece right now, I probably need like a week or two.
Yeah.
I'd be like, can you give me like 2 weeks and I'll have it ready for you. But yeah, like if I were to sit down and do it, it'd be about 12 hours a day.
So contact her and hire her, like commission her to do something, and just don't ask for it tomorrow.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing comedy? Not that long, right?
Not that long. A tiny bit over a year. I want to say I started comedy in about June or July of 18.
How does that come about?
I don't know. I used to write a lot. I never knew what I wanted to do, and when I went to college, like I had been part of the high school newspaper and shit. So when I went to college, I always thought like writing is gonna be fun. I'm gonna do English and journalism and all that. And I think I did, like, I tried journalism, it didn't work out. And English, I was like, I'm not even that good, like, a writer. Because I didn't want to be a teacher. My mom was like, oh, English majors become teachers. And I'm like, I don't want to work with kids. Like, so I was like, I don't want to be a teacher, I want to be, like, a writer. And it became very clear to me that I wasn't very good at writing, like, books or like poetry or like anything. Like I think one of my favorite writers was Edgar Allan Poe, and I was like, I'm never gonna write anything that like compares to this. And like what I did turn in, not like it was mediocre, and like college was super hard. I went to college for 3 years and I flunked out. I failed all 3 years before I eventually dropped out. And I don't know. It's one of those things that one day once I had dropped out of college, I kind of like admitted defeat, and I was like, I'm just gonna be one of those adults that hates their life and does a day job, and like that's gonna, 80% of adults live that life. They work at a call center, and like this is who I am. So I just submitted myself to do that, and one day I was just watching a bunch of comedy specials, and I saw one that was not very good, and I kind of put it together. I was like, comedy's writing, isn't it? And like a couple of friends had told me like I had been kind of funny, so like because I'm not an extrovert. I feel like a lot of comedians say like, oh yeah, I've always wanted to be on stage. I practiced theater and improv, and I did this.
I was using my
always
hairbrush as my
yeah,
microphone.
yeah, like that's not. I was an introverted, shy little emo kid. Like I did not go out of my shell. So one day, which is why I was a writer, like a journal. But
And sit at home in the dark and
yeah,
not have to talk to anybody.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, I could do this. So like I went on Google, and I Googled San Antonio comedy open mics, like because I knew nothing about comedy in San Antonio, and Google brought up our biggest club, the LOL. It was about 3 days away before Tuesday. It was like on a Saturday. So I was like, oh, I could do this, and I quickly wrote out a few jokes, and like the jokes I wrote were so very depressing because I'm very how do you say, like, self-deprecating.
And you're an emo.
Yeah, exactly. So the jokes I wrote were very depressing, and I got a lot of like, oh, that's kind of sad. Like,
yeah, that's like, oh, like not laughing, like, oh.
Yeah. But anyway, I kind of liked having the feeling of like having somewhere to vent and having an outlet, and I felt like that was it. So I kept trying to improve, and I took a comedy class, and my writing got a lot better, and I eventually started hitting more and more stages, more and more open mics, worked out, like, no one laughed at this, but they laughed at this, and started working on that. And like the first time I had a successful set, I think it was about a month in. Like I had done a few mics, I did them about a month or two in, and I had like a solid like set after quite a few times, and like I got laugh after laugh after laugh, and I was like, this feels great. Like I don't know why I haven't been doing this the whole time. It no longer felt weird or awkward. Like as soon as I had that great set, I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like the journalism, the writing, the 9 to 5, like none of that mattered anymore because I realized this is where it was leading to.
How was that as like the shy introvert, like when that month before you had that really good set and you're bombing or not doing well and things are awkward, like how was that for your like I go to like the comedy roast, like and I would just cry. Like I could never be roasted. Like I'm too fragile.
I think you just have to be secure in who you are. I've always had this feeling of like for example, not a roast, right? Because a roast is done in fun, right? Let's say someone just being mean to you, I guess.
Yeah.
You have to decide, you have to say in your head whenever you're being bullied, like, what that bully said, it's either true or it's not true. And if it's true and it bothers me, then I need to find a way to change it. If it's not true, then why am I giving it any attention? So again,
session here with me.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like again, it became one of those things that, and I wouldn't even say I was bullied a lot. Like I didn't grow up with like being the odd man out. I just didn't have like a lot of like a close knit of friends. And
Did you have siblings?
Yeah, two brothers.
Older or younger or even middle?
They're younger, but we go in order. Like we're a year apart from each other, so we're basically the same.
So they never got to like torture you because you were the oldest?
We wrestled a lot as kids, I think. But I never got sisters or like the experience of like, she stole my clothes.
Yeah. Like I'm a middle child, so my older brother tormented me, and I used to throw my younger brother in a chest freezer. So I was.
Wow.
We had a deck, and I used to he was also really mean to me. But then I would take it and I would like hang him upside down over our deck, over our porch, and be like, I'll drop you. He's not a nice person.
No, I think the worst we did, and it's so funny because our parents got so mad at us, and at the time I did not know why. but now I realize I was like, yeah, that was fucking stupid. We had a few it was a family gathering, and like we had gotten a bunch of kids, right? There was like 10 of us kids, me and my brothers and a bunch of others. We decided to have a rock fight and like throw rocks at each other. Like we thought it was a fun kid thing to do. My brother got stitches in his head that day. Because he got hit in the head with a rock.
With a rock.
That's what
you don't have any choices, but right.
And it's so fun because, yeah, we got in so much trouble and we were like, God, we're just playing. Like, what's your big deal? But now I feel like if a 7-year-old came to me and said, no, we were throwing rocks at each other, it's fine, I'd be like, what the fuck is wrong
Maybe
with
it's
you?
good that you weren't the teacher. You're going to be out on the playground like, darn dang kids! Let's see who we
yeah, that was
chuck at the hardest.
stupid. So we did little things like that, but I wouldn't say we were combative or anything.
Are any of your siblings or your parents creative like you? Are they in the arts?
No. That's me. My dad was military. He retired when I was born, and now he works like a regular 9-to-5 job. So does my mom, and then my brother's, one's a student, one's a college student, and then one, again, has a regular 9-to-5 job.
So you're a month into comedy, and your sets are going well.
Mm-hmm.
How has it changed in the last year then?
I mean, I think when you first get, I have like I feel like the San Antonio comedy scene, I've met a lot of very supportive people and comedians. There's so many good, like amazing comedians.
Do you want to
here.
shout out to any of them so we can tag them in the
Okay. One, yes, I would love to, but two, no, because I feel like I'm gonna forget someone, and they're like, you don't think I'm a great comedian? Yeah, like, so I would love to share names, but I'm forgetting.
No, we won't. It's
I'm
all
not
of them
forgetting.
that
Yeah,
you
like
love.
they're great comedians.
They know who they are.
Exactly.
You know who you are.
Like they're very supportive and helpful, and I never really had this combative thing. Like a lot of people were saying comedy's a dog-eat-dog world. I was like, I've had people, like a lot of comedians who were better than me, help me out and say like, hey, this is this, and you should try this way, or have you ever thought about structuring a joke differently? And it really helped me grow as a writer and grow my comedy set and figure out more jokes and grow, like doing more, because everyone starts with like 5 minutes of jokes, and then you go to 10 through 15 and 20, until you're a headliner. So I always really liked the comedy scene.
Do you have like a writing process, or does stuff just like pop in your head? Do you sit down and write?
Yes, yeah. Not every day. I jot things down every day. Like I keep a little tiny spiral notebook in my purse. And whenever, like sometimes I'll go through the day and I'll be like, that's a funny thought, and I'll like write that down. So I do that every day. But actual sit down and writing and we're gonna crack down on this, that doesn't happen every day. Happens about once, twice a week, maybe.
How do you, I feel like, and maybe just because like you kind of get in your own little bubble and then you think everybody knows like what you're thinking about, but I feel like the comedy world in San Antonio is getting bigger. Like there are more people like popping up and starting to try to, I don't know, try to explore that side of them, which I think is kind of cool. What are your thoughts on
doing comedy? Like more people doing comedy?
Yeah, like do you think it's like kind of starting to, since you've started, like starting to get bigger or booming, or?
Again, I think we have really great comics here that are super underappreciated. I do think like whenever like we see a new comic and we see them go out to open mics for like a month and then they all of a sudden we don't see them anymore. I think that happens because a lot of people, vainly think like comedy's easy, right? It's easy to get someone to laugh, and then they go on stage and bomb. I'm like, oh, this isn't
Wow,
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The longest 4 minutes of my entire life.
Yeah, exactly. Or they go up there and rant for 4 minutes, and it sounds again like me, like the very first time I went on stage. It sounds like very like, well, it's me. So I feel like it takes a lot of work, but I feel like the people who are committed to getting better are actually, like, I've seen a lot of progress and a lot of great comedians from San Antonio.
What do you have coming up? Anything that you can?
On September 7th, which is the Saturday.
Gosh, I love this live thing we're doing. It's so
It's
fun.
so great. Anyway, I was watching that.
That's fine. We'll flip it around when we're done. We can watch it.
Saturday, September 7th at 8 p.m.
Okay.
I'm doing a show with Mind Twist Comedy at Smokehouse. I'll have the flyer on my Facebook and Instagram, but you could go to mindtwistcomedy.com for tickets. It's on September 7th. I believe tickets are $15. We have a lot of other great performers going there, like Eric Townsend's going to be there, Irma's going to be there. I'm forgetting the name of the other performers.
This is why we don't say
Yeah,
names.
this is why. This is exactly why we don't do it.
I love her.
But-
Irma was one of the first people on my show when I moved here
Yeah.
in 2017.
Yeah.
She was doing, I think it was, I don't know if it was her first like Teachers Gone Bad show, but she came on to promote. She's like the most supportive.
She is.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's very, very great. I remember I had gone like 2 or 3 months without like a show, and I was like, "Hey, Irma, like I need help getting booked," and she like immediately came back.
Yeah.
Like immediately came back with work for me, like paid gigs. She started promoting me and doing all this. So I was like, I fucking love her. Like she's great.
Yeah. What's your advice to people, speaking of like people up and coming and like trying out, like what's your advice?
What's my advice? I would say just stick to it. I feel like it takes. I feel like a lot of times you're working very, 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 very hard for a long time, and you progress a little bit.
Seems like nothing.
Yeah. So it feels like you're not getting better, or you're stagnant. So I would just say, I think my advice would just be like to stick with it or continue to grow that way. Because even that little bit that you progress, if it took you like 6 months to progress that far, or 3 months, or a year, or whatever, it's totally worth it if this is what you want to do.
Yeah. I had a question in my head, and then I totally just blanked on it. Oh, I know what it was. It wasn't a question. It was talking about what you did last week.
Oh.
Are you still in the high?
Did I
just
do
you know
last
your
week?
new
No.
BFF Jen Kirkman. How did that come about?
Jen, yeah, I opened for Jen Kirkman.
No big deal.
Just a
It was such. I brought my friend Eddie.
You were there.
I was
You were
there.
in the audience.
Yes, I was.
You.
I was, and I was mad because we were late, and I wanted front row so I could like be there laughing and cheering, and we got there late.
Yeah, it's okay. I fell flat on my face. It's
When?
Oh, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was like, I wasn't that far back. It wasn't.
My set did horribly. I didn't do it.
You think you did horribly?
No.
No.
I think it
Like-
could have gone better.
I think that I've never been in that space before.
Neither have I.
I didn't like how it was set up. I felt like I got kind of like the loungy, like
Yeah.
whatever. But when you were with someone, like you're seated here and then here. So like if I'm at a show with you, like I want to be here. So if, when you say something funny, I can look at you and be like, oh, she's so funny. Not be like, hey, did you hear that? Like it was so
That
weird.
was so funny.
Because then I felt like I was alone.
Oh, okay, I see. I guess.
And y'all should have been drinking more.
We should. See, a lot of people, I think this is a very amateur thing. A lot of people who don't do comedy but think they should are like, yeah, if I got drunk, like, I'd be a great comedian, or like, you should drink before your shows.
Oh, I
and
think that's horrible if you're up there. Yes.
Yes. Like, you should drink before your shows, it'll loosen you up. And I'm like, no, like, my jokes and my set are very, like, they're very planned out. I wrote them out. I spent time writing them. I spent time structuring them. And getting drunk is the last thing I need, because I'm going to forget the things I said. So again, it's a lot of amateurs think like, oh, drinking helps, right? It helps relax you.
I'll just get drunk and go up there and I'll be funny.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a very amateur thing that people.
My rule is I don't even drink like the night before I do this show.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't even want to be hungover. Like, you have to, like, it's a job. At the end of the day, it's a job. So like, try not to drink on the job. I don't know.
Exactly.
I mean, it depends on what job you have, I suppose. But yeah. So how did that come about?
I've always been a fan of Jen Kirkman. When I first started doing comedy, she was one of the very first people I looked up to, because she was very funny, and she was, I think don't get me wrong, there a lot of comedians before her have done it, but I think she was one of the first comedians that I really admired, because her set and her structure and her specials all had like a stance behind it. Like, you know, she not only was she funny, but she was very strong, independent, and like feminist, and like, you know what I mean. So I was like, oh, I like this girl. So I started following her and doing all that, and she announced on Instagram that she was going to be in San Antonio. I was like, oh my god. So before I was like, this is obviously going to sell out, because she's amazing. So I bought my ticket, and then about a week later, I was like, you know what? Let's message her.
Wow.
So I sent her a message, and I follow her on Instagram, so I just sent her a message, and I said, hey, I'm a big fan, I'm a local comedian. If you need an opener, here's like a video clip, and I sent her like a 5-minute video clip. And I did not hear anything back for like 2 weeks, but like I had just messaged a celebrity, I don't know what. Like, I was like, nothing's gonna come.
But you were also opening it up every 5 minutes.
And then like 2 weeks later, I got a reply back, and she basically said yes. So I was like, wow, yeah. I was like, oh my god, and like I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna be opening for Jen Kirkman. This is gonna be great, fantastic. Like I spent so many weeks like rehearsing and trying to nail down like my set and trying to be perfect and making sure everything was on point. So that's how that came about. That's how I got the Jen Kirkman.
I was like, I took my friend Eddie, and I was like, you came on, I was like, that's my friend. I was like, that's Jen. And then we left, and he's like, she's really funny.
Oh yeah.
Like, I know, that's fine.
She is, yeah.
I mean, Jen Kirkman, but I'm really here for you.
Yeah.
I tweeted her when I got my tickets.
Yeah.
And she tweeted me back, and then she was like, tell all your friends, like, we need to sell tickets and get asses in those seats.
Yeah.
And I was like, great. Can I interview you? And then she never responded. So apparently I was supposed to DM her instead of tweeting her. Maybe she would have.
She's, yeah, we're BFFs now.
Obviously.
No, I'm just kidding.
As you should be.
We're not BFFs. But yeah, no, like, I just thought it was a great experience. She was very, like, kind and sweet, and, like, very, like, I loved everything. If I had pictured my best day ever going well, this was, like, 3 times better than that. Like, it was so great. I got my own dressing room. I got to meet Jen Kirkman. She told me she really liked my set. Like, it was, like, everything about, I got paid to do it. Like, everything about that day was great. Like, it was amazing. So I have no complaints.
Did you learn anything from that? From, like, her, from watching her, from how she, like...
We didn't get to spend a lot of time together, because the show, Kirkman thought the show started at 8, so she told me to be there at 7:30. The Tobin Center was like, no, the show starts at 7:30. So I got there like 7:15ish, and they're like, yeah, we're supposed to start in 15 minutes. I was like, what? They're like, we could start a little bit late, but like it has to be before 8. So I didn't get to spend a lot of time talking to her. We spent a little bit of time talking afterwards, and she was like, hey, I really enjoyed your set. She was selling and signing books after her thing, so I got one of her books. She autographed it. So I will say, in person we did not get to talk a lot, right? But reading her book is very insightful. Not that so if you're a fan of Jen Kirkman,
We'll put the Amazon link to her book on there too in the comments.
Her book is very helpful. She talks a lot about writing and about being a comedian and being, a single woman in her 40s figuring things out. So I was like, wow, even just reading her book was I feel like is very helpful as not only as a fan, but as an entertainer as well.
She's great.
She is.
I had another question that I'm blanking on because I was thinking about Jen Kirkman. What was it? This is why we shouldn't do live things because I blank because I'm old.
It's fine.
I don't even know what I was going to say. I have no idea. Apparently it's past my bedtime. This is why I should have a daytime show and not a nighttime show.
Not a nighttime
show.
Never make it for the late show.
No. What do you think about the access to stand-up now? Like with Netflix, everybody can have a special. Everybody's do you think that's great, or is there an oversaturation of
I think it's great. I think platforms are great, especially for someone if someone like me in my shoes. I just like to do comedy. I just like to go on stage and make people laugh and say hey, this. I talk a lot about my childhood and my parents and dating. And this is what I struggle with. Hopefully, if y'all relate, y'all struggle with it too. But so I enjoy just making people laugh. So I feel like having all those platforms is a great thing for someone like me who just wants to perform and doesn't want to concern themselves with marketing or things like that, things outside of the exactly, actual comedy.
Yeah.
So I will say it's great for things like that. I've seen plenty of bad specials that I don't enjoy. But quality speaks for itself. I think when you watch specials like Jen Kirkman or Whitney Cummings just did one that was highly praised. She has one, her new special, Can I Touch It, just came out, which is amazing. Yeah. So I think it's great as a tool to get yourself out there, and when you're starting to promote and get booked and find work, it's easy to say hey, you can find me and my clip on this if you want to book me. Here's my info. So I kind of the access to it. I don't know if that answers the question exactly.
That's your answer. That absolutely answers the question.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Thanks for being here.
Yay.
I don't know how long we've been talking. That clock doesn't work, and so I don't know what time it is. But
it's 6:56.
Okay. So a half an hour.
Commented on our video, I think.
No one commented? Is that what you said?
No, I said Irma commented on our video.
What does Irma say? Let's check.
Irma,
we're coming for you. Hold on.
Oh wow, I look horrible on camera.
Oh Lord.
She said hi.
Hi Irma. Thanks for watching.
Yay. You. Hi, Rich. Can't wait to see you in October from your big bro. That's your brother.
Oh, my brother's watching.
Rob?
Oh yeah, that's my older brother. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
They're coming down here for a beer fest.
Wow. Look even horrible leaning over.
All right, we're stopping this now because now she's just gonna look at herself. Thanks for hanging out with me and leaving her. You're the best. Bye.